Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel for my second video. Today's video, I was really skeptical about recording this because it was really a difficult time for me. But I know that when I did have the COVID-19, I did watch a lot of videos on YouTube. It kind of helped me, I guess, kind of cope through the situation, see what everybody else went through, compared my symptoms to others, you know. What else can you do when you're quarantined away from society and the world, right? You kind of just go on a research rampage. So I did that, but I also did what I called my COVID diary. You guys can see. And basically from day one, I put all of my symptoms, my activity I did, what vitamins I took. So I really want to, I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to go through with you guys some of the things I did while I did have COVID-19. And this happened February, my first symptom was February 14th on Valentine's Day. My first major symptom, because I feel like I had symptoms before, but I kind of ignored it. So I'll get into that too. But my first major symptom was February 14th, which was Valentine's Day. I'm going to go from there. I want to start this video, however, with a disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. This is just what my personal experience was, what I went through. By no means am I giving you medical advice and telling you to take anything that I took or to take the route that I took. I just want to put the information out there because I know for me, when I watched a lot of the YouTube videos for people that did have COVID, it was kind of soothing. It was like, okay, someone can relate to kind of what I'm going through. So I want to just put that out there. I'm not a medical professional by any means, and I'm not advising you to do the things that I did, but I'm only merely sharing my experience with you. So let's get started into the video. So my very first symptom, I would want to say, was on February 10th. On that day, I had a burning, scratchy throat. I had tightness in my chest and pain that was moving throughout my chest, but it felt like gas. Like, I don't know if you guys ever had gas before, if you take too long to eat, and then you know, you have the pain that's like moving through your chest kind of thing, and you're like, and I'm from the islands. My parents are Jamaican, so the first thing they tell you to do is drink some tea or drink some warm milk because you have gas. You need to belch it out, right? Well, no, that's not what was going on, but that's kind of where my mind frame was. Now, since then, that was the very first symptom or change within myself that I recognized. I also had a little bit of a diarrhea on that day. It was a Sunday, I believe. But I just thought maybe I ate something really bad or like something that didn't agree with my stomach, so I didn't pay that much mind either. On February 14th, I decided to go with my family. Basically, the decision I made to go out really and truly, because I was feeling fine. It was just like my throat was like a little, you know. I took my son out to get ice cream at Jackson's, this place in Deerfield, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So I took him out to Jackson's. The whole day I was fine. He drank some of my soda. Like, we were driving there. I drove my family there. We got there, everything. So then, while at Jackson's, I was sitting in front of the AC vent at the restaurant. So it was kind of like really like pushing on me, like the AC, the cold AC. And I'm like, I'm kind of cold. My chest was kind of open. I had like a top on that, you know, had an opening here. It was like a wrap top. So my chest was kind of open. I'm like, you know, I feel really cold right here. But, you know, I didn't complain too much about it. I didn't switch my seat. I just sat there. So on that day, as we left the restaurant, the ice cream place, and I get into the car, I sneezed. I'm like, oh, it's probably just my allergies because I was sitting in front of the AC, right? So I sneezed and I sneezed again. I have my family in this car with me, a car full of people, and I'm sneezing. That night, I felt extremely, I don't know if I should say delirious, but I felt cloudy. My head was very cloudy. My eyes were a little bit watery. I was very congested. I was sneezing like crazy. And, you know, my family's just like, are you sick? Are you sick? Are you sick? I'm like, no, I'm not sick. It's just my allergies. Because I've had this happen to me before. Even when the pandemic broke out, I had like an allergy attack because we were bleaching the floor so much in the house and the knobs. And like I got an allergic reaction to just so much bleach, you know, inhalation of the bleach or whatever. And I took Benadryl and I was good. A-okay. So I'm like, all right, you know what? It's just my allergies. That was Sunday, February 14th. I wake up Monday for work. As I wake up for work, I feel horrible. I feel the same as the night before, but a little bit worse. And I'm like, you know what? The first thing I did was I text my boss and I said, you know what? I don't feel good, but I'm still gonna come in. So as I'm on my way into the office, I get a phone call from my job, and they say to me that, you know, you have been exposed to someone that tested positive with COVID-19. Please go get tested before coming back into the office. Send us your results. So I'm like, okay, you want me to take a PCR or a rapid? They say a rapid is fine. Just go ahead and take your rapid, and then once you get your results, then you can come back in. You can come into the office today. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm thinking I have allergies. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm gonna go get this rapid really quick, and I'm gonna go into the office and do my business, because it was still merely the beginning of the month, and with my job, the beginning of the month is crazy. So I'm just like ready to get to like all my paperwork and everything. So I go get my rapid, and it came back positive. And you would think that with the symptoms I were having, and I wouldn't be so like surprised at the fact that I got a positive test, but it was positive. And I was so surprised that I even walked into my mom's room as I got my positive test, and I'm just like, look, look, look. Not even thinking like, hello, you just got a positive, stay away from everybody. I'm just like completely, I don't want to say dumbfounded, but shocked, like didn't really know what to do next. So my rapid test came back positive that day. On February 15th, actually it was February 15th when I got my positive, so it was the day after Valentine's Day. On that day, as according to my little diary here, my temperature was at 98.8. So here goes the temperature issue I had during my whole entire experience, which I'm gonna get into. I really don't want to make this video too long, I'm sorry guys, but I really want to tell you guys everything. All right, so on that day it was 98.8. My symptoms, I was sneezing, I had a runny nose, watery eyes, I was very, very weak, and I was fatigued. At 9:25 p.m., so from 6:36 to 9:25 p.m., this makes me anxious talking about it, because I was so freaking scared this whole time that I had the COVID-19. And I wasn't asymptomatic, and I wasn't like, oh yeah, I had it, but I had no symptoms, or yeah, I had it, but I just lost my taste and my smell. No, I had actual symptoms. Like I had the real deal symptoms. So by 9:25 p.m., my fever went up to 99.9. That day, I did run 2.5 miles. I took vitamin C, vitamin D, Dayquil, and NyQuil, and I took a ginger shot that my mom prepares here at our house. And I also took 2 probiotics. Yeah, I took 2 probiotics, one for healthy gut and one for healthy you know what. So that was my day 1. Boom. I don't know if I can speed through this somehow, but okay, so let me hurry up. So day 2. Day 2 at 9:40 a.m. I had 99.9 fever. My fever went up from 99.9 to 101.3 by 8 o'clock p.m. So my fever is constantly rising. I'm freaking out. My symptoms, I had pressure behind my eyes at this point. I lost my sense of smell, lost my sense of taste. Like I don't know if any of you guys know, but I have, or know of I should say, but I have a bottle of Chanel perfume. And if you know Chanel perfume, you know it's strong. Like you just need maybe 1 or 2 spritz and you smell like Chanel. I could not smell not one, and even a little bit of that fragrance from that bottle. So my smell was gone. Like I couldn't smell or taste anything. Everything tastes like paper, or what I would think paper would taste like. Also, I was very fatigued, and I had a lot of weakness. That day I forced myself. I did a combination of walking and running. I did 2 miles. I did vitamin C, D, probiotic. I did take Tylenol and Dayquil. Took a lot. So I know that they say that when you have COVID-19, and I got the same communication, that you should rest, drink water. However, again, this is like an island thing. I feel like, based off of my brought up scene and my culture, if you are sick and you just lay there and let the sickness take over you, as they would say, then it only makes matters worse. Get up, do some movement, move around. So that's what the goal was for me, was to kind of keep my body moving, not to get too comfortable just laying there and in pitifulness or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, it helped me. It worked for me. It may not work for everyone. Again, this is just my personal experience. I had 18 days before I recovered, so I'm going to really try to breeze through this as much as I can. I don't want to take up too much of your time with it, but I definitely want to give you the information I think is valuable, so that way you can maybe compare what you're going through to what I went through, like what I did to other videos. So that was my day 2. Day 3, my temperature was a 101.3 by 5:54 a.m. because, mind you, I'm anxious, so I'm waking up early. I can't sleep. By 5:54 a.m., my temperature was a 100.1. I took Tylenol. It went down to 98.3, but then by 3:48 p.m., my temperature was at 101.2. On that day, I did also take my vitamin C, vitamin D, probiotic, Tylenol. I had a dryness in my nasal cavity and throat. I had minor body ache, so my entire body was hurting me. Like, it felt like I went to the gym and lifted weights. And as you guys get to know me, you will know that I occasionally do try to lift weights, like, you know, like the 5-pound weights at home, but I am not really great at lifting weights on my own. I am no expert at weightlifting. So my go-to thing to keep my body in shape and to kind of keep going is running. That's really pretty much all I do, which I know that I need to kind of get into other things, but I run. So I'm like, I know I didn't lift any weights. I haven't been to the gym in forever, so why does my body feel so sore, right? It felt like I got hit by a car. That's how sore. Like, every major joint, my fingers, I could barely even do this and bend my fingers. It was like a strain to do this. My joint by my foot, my flexation in my foot like this, it was very hard for me to do that. My elbows hurt. My shoulders up here, my pressure points in my chest here all had pain. My back, I had pain up the back of my neck. Woo! So yeah, so that happened. That was on my day, sorry, I'm losing my place now. Okay, that was day 3. So day 4, every day was like a different symptom, which made it even more scary, because it was like, okay, well, you don't know what's coming next. And that's the perception it gave me with the way things were, the way the virus is moving through my body. It was like loss of taste, loss of smell. Now you have body ache. All right, boom. Now you have a fever. All right, boom. Now you have fatigue. Now you have dryness of the mouth. It was like every day was a different experience. So my day 4, I had a temperature of 100 when I woke up. My temperature went to 101.9 by 8 o'clock p.m. I had dryness in my nasal cavity. I did day 4 already. Sorry guys, it's a lot of days. So we're actually at day 5. So day 5, I woke up at 7 a.m. My temperature was 100.3. By 7:43 p.m., my temperature was at 101.7. On that day, I took vitamin C, D, probiotic. Sense of smell came back. My taste came back on my day 5. Smell came back, taste came back on that day. On that day, I ran 2 miles. I ran 2.5 miles. And then here goes my day 6. So let's see. Now, before I move to day 6, I'm going to stop and say this. So, during the course of all those other things going on that I just told you about, I went to the bathroom one day and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and, it was a morning, you know, brush my teeth. Whenever I came out of my room, because I still live with my family here, whenever I came out of my room, I had my mask on, straight to the bathroom. I was the only one to use that bathroom. And when I'm coming out the bathroom, mask on, straight to my room. I went nowhere else in this house. I didn't touch anything else in this house while this is happening. So I go to the bathroom in early morning, brushing my teeth. I find myself a little weak still, right? My joints were hurting. I'm a little fatigued still. I'm kind of out of energy. So I lean over like this on the face basin and I'm brushing my teeth, right? As I lean over, I think I dropped my toothbrush travel holder, because I kind of use those still because I don't like my toothbrush just out in the open like that. It's just a personal thing. I just don't like it. So I dropped it on the floor. So I went to go pick it up. As I'm picking it up, I feel an immediate pressure and pain in my chest on this side. So I'm like, that's not normal and something's going on. So I went ahead and I used my virtual doctor app that I have on my phone linked with my insurance. It's called K Health. I don't know if you guys heard of K Health, but it's an app you use and there's virtual doctors on there, and you can describe your symptoms and they can provide you with medication to your nearest pharmacy without having to go in for a physical doctor's visit. So that's what I did. The doctor said, well, you know, with COVID, you kind of have to let it run its course and just stay hydrated and get a lot of rest, right? That's what the CDC says. That's the general communication that I received. And I'm like, okay, well, I feel like there's something wrong with my chest. Like I feel this pressure in my chest and like it's bothering me. It's bothering me. So she said, you know what, let me go ahead and prescribe you with some azithromycin for 5 days. It's an antibiotic just in case you may have any underlying infections. So I'm like, all right, perfect. I think that saved my life. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not a doctor, like I tell you guys. I am not a medical professional by any means, but I honestly feel like the azithromycin that she prescribed me is what saved me. So I went ahead and got it filled. My family went and picked it up for me, brought it here. So now let me continue with my COVID-19 experience. So day 6. On day 6, my temperature was 100.8. I didn't take my temperature in the morning. I took it at 4:44 p.m. I ran 2.5 miles that day. And in the evening, my temperature ended at 100.1. My day 7. On this day, I took Mucinex and I was starting to coughing up some phlegm. I still had a fever. My fever that day was 101.4. So mind you, the most consistent thing throughout my entire COVID experience was my fever. My fever would not go down. It was very stubborn. It was very consistent. I feel like my fever was linked to the infection that was growing or I had in my chest, which is what I got the azithromycin for, just in case, you know, to cover any type of infection I may have had. So that day I got my azithromycin from the pharmacy, and I can't remember my password. And on the first day of azithromycin, which is a Z-Pack, if some of you call it a Z-Pack, it's a Z-Pack. On that day, when you take the dosage, it says to take the first 2 pills on day 1. So you take 2 pills on day 1, and then for 5 days after, you take 1 pill a day. I took 2 pills that day. One of the side effects of azithromycin or Z-Pack is diarrhea, and it did just that. It very much did. I don't know if that was its way of ridding toxins or some of the viral things that were in my body because of COVID. Again, I am not a medical professional. I can only tell you what my assumptions are and my experience from the situation. So now here goes my day 8. I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna wrap this up right now. All right, so here goes my day 8. I'm gonna go through day 8 and 9 together. So my day 8, I had the same weakness and fatigue. My fever is still at a 99.9. That day I only walked 1 mile. I had a slight cough and dry mouth. And I had some stuffiness at night. Day 9, I had a temperature of 101.5 at 6 a.m. I also did walk 2 miles. At this time, I lost my appetite. But what I did do differently from day 9 moving forward, I was taking vitamin D every day, vitamin C. I was taking a multivitamin, biotin. I was taking the ginger shot, which had raw ginger, it had garlic, it had onion, and it had turmeric. So that was my ginger shot every single day, sometimes twice a day. But what I did differently on this day moving forward, I decided to sit in the sun for 20 minutes. So I sat in the sun, which is something I don't do. regularly. I sat in this, literally went outside and I just sat in the sun and let it beat on my face and on my body for at least 20 minutes a day moving forward from this day, from day 10. So I did 8 and 9. So from day 8, I've been sitting in the sun for 20 minutes a day. So I started to do that, aside from running every day. So on day 9, lost my appetite. Day 10, which is my azithromycin, day 4. On this day, I didn't track very much, which I don't know why. I don't know if you guys can see, but on that day, I really didn't track much information. I don't know if I wasn't feeling well but my fever was at 101.5. Took only ibuprofen once, but by that day 10, I remember waking up and brushing my teeth. And as I'm brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I started to cough. And this, I mean, I had a little dry cough here and there throughout the whole, experience. But on this day, I was coughing. My sister could hear it from the bathroom. And I asked her after, like, did you hear me coughing this morning? And she's like, yeah, I heard you coughing this morning. I coughed up so much phlegm at one point. I coughed up so much that it was like a big jello ball of phlegm. And it wasn't even like it was green. It was white, like clear phlegm. And from my understanding, from what I've read online, clear phlegm is a indication of infection and potential pneumonia. So green phlegm is bronchitis. So I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord, that I took this azithromycin on day 4. That's what the antibiotic was able to. Mind you, a key note that I got from my godmom, which really helped me too. The entire time I was sick and I was in that room, which is approximately 18 days, I did not lay on my back. I had like pillows behind me, supporting me up so much to where like I was sleeping and my head was like just like slanted to the side. I sat up because one thing I did know is sleeping on your back, from what I was told, I'm not a medical professional, no doctor told me this, but through, word of mouth, and my godmother, she had COVID as well. Sitting up helps for the infection not to spread deeper within your lung cavity. So I sat up, I took her advice. It worked for me. Did it make a difference scientifically or medically? I don't know, because I didn't consult with my doctor about that, whether or not it was particularly true, but it worked for me. Also, what she did say is if you're gonna sleep, and I've read about this too, if you're gonna sleep on your stomach, and sleeping on your stomach opens up your chest and your lungs, so you breathe more effectively. So as I'm taking my antibiotic, and eventually by day 4, when I felt comfortable enough, day 4 of my azithromycin, not day 4 of my COVID symptoms, but day 4 of my azithromycin, my Z-Pack antibiotic, by that day I started to sleep on my stomach because I felt comfortable enough, and my chest would open up and I would feel so comfortable and I would fall asleep. Day 11, which was my day 5 of azithromycin, by that day, I woke up, my temperature was 100.5. That was the lowest my temperature has ever been in the morning since I started to have a fever. I took ibuprofen. My temperature stayed down at 10 o'clock. My temperature was 99.9. So still there. So day 12, my temperature, this is like making me so anxious because you guys, I was so scared this whole entire time this was happening to me, and having to read this and relive these days is like, it really is making me anxious. So I apologize about, my jitterness and all that stuff. I'll talk about anxiety in another video. By day 12, my Z-Pack is done. I finished the whole antibiotic treatment. My temperature is at 99.2. At this point, I stopped taking any type of pain medicine or fever reducer to reduce my fever. I decided to let my body now fight off whatever else was left of whatever infection that was potentially present. I stopped taking a fever reducer. So I woke up at 9:59. My fever was 99.2. By the time it was 8:27, my fever was at 98.9. So my fever had went down from in the morning to the night without any fever reducer. So that was like hope for me. It was a good sign. That day I had a mild headache, but I took too long to eat because I put that as a keynote here. And at 11:37, my fever went down even more, a couple of points, but from 8:27, it was at 98.9, and then 11:37, it was 98.8. So my fever did go down without any fever reducer. So I'm like, okay, yes. Day 13. At this point, I'm only tracking fevers because my symptoms are subsiding. So from day 13 to day 18, I'm only tracking fever. So this is going to go really fast. I'm sorry I kept you guys so long. So by day 13, my fever was at 98.7, no fever reducer. By 9:16 p.m., my fever was at 98.7, it's still the same, no fever reducer. Day 14, my fever when I woke up at 9:30 was at 98.4. At night, it was 98.6. So there was a raise on that day. But day 15, which was March 1st, my fever was at a 97.6. And I think the normal temperature is 90, is it 96.8? Is it? Hold on, let me look it up. What's the normal temperature? I think it's 96.8, but I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. Let's see. What is normal temperature? Oops, second Google search. 96.8 is a normal temperature according to science, the medical field, right? That's what Google says. So I was at a 98.1. And on my day, let me skip through. Day 17. I'm like, okay, CDC says by day 10, you can leave your room because you're no longer contagious. I decided not to leave my room because I didn't feel comfortable leaving my room until I got a negative test. So they said that I can test again on day 10 as long as I didn't have any symptoms present. My most longest and lingering symptom was this fever. So on day 17, on day 17, I did another COVID test 3 days before, so that would have been on day 15. I went ahead and got tested again for COVID. By day 17, I got back my results. It was a PCR. I was still positive. Can you believe that? I was still positive. That crushed my world. I was so upset. I was so scared. I cried a lot that day. I had been cleared to go back to work, so at this time I was already back to work. They didn't wait for my negative test. They said that they cleared me through Holy Cross. They're somehow linked with the chief of Holy Cross here in Florida, and they have cleared me to come back to work. So I went back to work. I wore my N95 mask the entire time. Super safe. I have my own space and office, so I didn't have to worry about interacting with people too much. And then, so I got my second positive test. So it's possible to test positive up to 3 months after you have truly gotten over COVID, right? So I have a friend of mine that she had COVID as well, and she hadn't gotten her first negative result until her 8th time testing in a PCR. 8th time. So imagine being positive 8 times after your symptoms have subsided. That is insane. So don't be discouraged. Definitely still hydrate yourself. Still take your vitamins. Still, take time for healing. Meditate. Breathe. I did a lot of healing meditations. Listening to them, guided meditations as well. So then I waited a week. So let me see. My temperature at this point, my temperature wasn't really, is it 96.8 or 98.6? What's the normal temperature? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The normal temperature, according to Google, I read that completely wrong. I'm so sorry. The normal temperature is, I correct myself, 98.6, not 96.8. Is 98.6 is a normal blood temperature for a normal adult being, 98.6. So on all these days from day 19 when I got my from day 17 when I got my second positive result all the way to my day 18, my temperature was completely normal at this. Sorry guys, my camera stopped really quick. So like I was saying, my temperature was completely normal at this time. And then I waited. So on my day, on my day 17, I got my second positive. I didn't get my first negative until day 21. So CDC says to wait 10 days. You're no longer contagious. You can be around family and friends, you know, as long as your symptoms have subsided. But I didn't get my first negative until day 21. And I'm very well aware that I've read articles where it's like, you know, you still have some of the particles of the virus in your body, but doesn't mean that they're active. They could very well be dead, but it still will show up on your test and you're no longer contagious. I understand that. I've read that. I'm not going to go against science or the medical professionals by any means, but I still have my own perception of things, and I just didn't feel comfortable being around my family until I got a negative test. So as a matter of fact, I waited until I got 2 negatives to actually get out of my room and be around my son and be around my mom and my family and everything, which you guys will know more about that. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our video. I definitely did take my temperature for at least 36 days total count throughout the experience, but that's just my paranoia. Another keynote that I want to put in here, that's done as far as the diary, but another keynote I want to put in here is that you will have lingering, I won't say you, I have had lingering symptoms from my COVID experience even now. I had my menstrual while I was infected. I had my menstrual again, obviously afterwards. And on the day I received my menstrual after COVID, my first menstrual after COVID, on that day, all of my COVID-19 symptoms came back. Not as severely by any means, but I had some joint pain here. I had a little bit of like cloudiness, a little bit of neck pain. I felt a little off. My menstrual lasted 7 days as opposed to the 4 days it normally lasts. Way heavier bleeding, way more intense, you know, PMS symptoms, like, you know, like how some of us women have like the tenderness in the boobs, you know, menstruals coming on, cramps, things like that. I have all those normally, but it was more intensified when I had my menstrual cycle after COVID. So I did read a couple of articles that stated, you know, some women have experienced that. Your menstrual cycle after having COVID could offset and bring back some of your symptoms, but at that time you're still not contagious. And I tested and I was still negative. It's just that my symptoms just came back when my menstrual came on. So it's a journey, and it's still a journey. I don't feel like I'm a full 100% back to my normal self. I still have my days where it's like I'm not hanging out with you. I'm so tired. I'm going to bed like by 10:30, and not that I'm fatigued all day, but I do get a lot more tired quicker. Like usually before COVID, I'd be hanging out with friends until 12:30, and you know, be able to wake up for work, and it was nothing. It was like, okay, yeah. Now I definitely find myself needing a lot more rest. So that wraps up my video. Dang, I took a lot of your time. I really appreciate you watching until the end. I will be back with another video soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely please make sure you social distance and you continue to wear your mask and be as safe as possible for your loved ones, especially elderly people that you live with. Take them into consideration. This virus is real and it is nothing to play with. Like, it had me scared, y'all. So be safe out there. Love you guys.